Hey folks, this is Kelani. The next expansion beta test seems to be just over the horizon, but we're still going to have to sit tight and wait until the dev team is ready to flip that switch to open the floodgates for all of our curious eyes. Thankfully, we've got a bit more information to chew on to keep us busy so we don't get too crazy. We're going to be getting quite a few new races in Battle for Azeroth, and they all look pretty damn cool. Keep one question in your mind while we look at these new races. Which ones will become available as allied races sometime in the future, because I bet it's going to be a few of them. So let's sift through all of that data mined goodness to check out the 6 new races that we can look forward to interacting with in the next expansion. Bear in mind that this is all stuff pulled from a server we don't even have access to yet, so as always it's subject to change and might not reflect the finished product. Let's kick things off with the new races we'll be interacting with the most. While you might not consider humans a new race, the Kultiran Humans that we'll get to know and love over on the continent of Kultiras bring quite a few new looks to the table. These aren't your typical run-of-the-mill humans. They come in all shapes and sizes, which makes me wonder what our humans have been eating for the last decade to get them all looking so similar. But I digress. The Alliance will be putting the ports of Kultiras to good use in their quest to seize as much control over the surrounding islands as possible. It's pretty convenient that when ships are needed, they suddenly remembered they had an ally in Kultiras, even though they've been ignoring them for as long as we can remember. Hopefully they're not too aggressive, because most of these guys are packing some major muscles. These aren't just large humans, they're huge. They kind of look like lumberjacks for the most part, and it's a shame they're not playable already because gear looks pretty cool on them from the previews we've got so far. Lots of ship handler themes going on, which makes perfect sense. The females are also looking a little stockier when compared to the female humans we've been able to play for a long time. They kind of look like a taller dwarf. They have the same kind of ratios. These are sturdy folk for sure. They would have to be to survive through the harsh times I'm sure we'll hear all about when we're solving their problems. But I can't help think these larger humans have been eating more than their fair share of what's available on Kultiras, because there's another model that we'll get to see throughout our adventures. The thin humans. When I first saw these models, I couldn't help but be reminded of the Warlocks of Karth from Game of Thrones, but it's really interesting to see a thinner model of humans, which could lend itself very well to certain caster classes. I don't really see a Warlock pumping iron at the gym to keep those abs visible. Their minds do the real work. One thing that still surprises me is how good this game can look despite its age. All of these human models have fantastic detail, especially in the faces. Moving on, we have the Zandalari Trolls. Once again, not really a new race, but we haven't seen them for a little while, and they've changed quite a bit since we last ran into them, and hey-ho, we'll actually be able to play this one, so that's exciting. If you're tired of having your troll slouching over, you might want to consider changing clans. The male Zandalari Trolls stand upright and are quite a bit beefier than their lankier cousins. It looks like we'll have a few options when it comes to skin textures too. Check out those scales on the hands and shoulders. Going through character creation for these guys is going to be really fun. It turns out that the Zandalari Trolls are just as good at this whole sailing thing when compared to the Kultirans, so obviously the Horde has to secure their allegiance if they want to keep up with the Alliance. The Zandalari Trolls haven't exactly been the nicest folk in the past. We thwarted their plans when they tried to reunite the troll tribes in Cataclysm, and we sort of stopped their whole Thunder King plot, but it seems like they have a few problems on their home continent of Zandalar, so we'll step in and make everything right. The females look just as cool as the males, though quite a bit less different when compared to the female trolls we can already create. Maybe it's just the posture not being completely different, but the female trolls we can already play look pretty cool to begin with. You can also see the same scales on the hands and shoulders, and a little bit around their head as well. Some of the NPCs also dip themselves in gold, but while that looks pretty awesome, I don't think we'll be able to do that for our own Zandalari Trolls. I wonder if trolls will be allowed to wear shoes this expansion. This priestess has a pretty cool toe spike, so that's a start. I'm really excited to see when we'll finally be able to play around with the character customization for the Zandalari. It's just a shame we'll have to wait until after the expansion launches. Now we can check out some of the races which we haven't seen before. You might have heard quite a bit about the Vulpera already. These cute little guys seem to be causing quite a bit of controversy when they're brought up, especially when people are hoping for them to become an allied race. Whether you want them on our roster or not, the Vulpera look pretty cool. They do seem to be using the same skeleton as the goblins, so expect them to move more or less the same way, which is honestly a little disappointing in my opinion. If I had to pick something that looked a little off with these models, it would be their arms, which they have inherited from the goblins. I wonder if sharing the same basic rig allows the devs to more easily update the goblin models as well, but either way we don't know too much about these crafty little critters, except that they seem to hail from Vol'dun on Zandalar. These will be one of the races the Horde will aid as part of their storyline. We'll actually be helping them against another race that we'll have a look in a little bit, but the Alliance will also be able to see the Vulpera in Freehold. It seems like some of the foxes fancied the pirate's life. I think the males pull off the goblin skeleton a little better. The hands don't look too out of proportion. You can see there's quite a variety of colours available for their furs. If we ended up with Vulpera as allied races, we would be able to choose between red foxes, snow foxes and shadow foxes. I think I can see why some people might be worried. I wonder if using the goblin model makes it easier for things like gear and equipment models as well, because I feel like that would be one of the largest barriers for entry for allied races. If rigging everything up is going to be really easy, we might actually be playing foxes in a year or two. The race that seems to want to eat the poor Vulpera are the vile, nasty Slytherins. Sethrak. The Sethrak are pretty mean-looking snake people who also reside in Vol'dun on Zandalar. We're not too sure about their motives just yet, but their empire is growing and spreading quickly. Apparently they can magically turn the environment into what they're most comfortable with, sand. Wherever they go, sand follows, to ensure they have a happy climate whenever they're invading other lands, like the area of Nazmir on Zandalar. There don't seem to be any different models for male and female, and I don't really know how to go about determining the gender of a snake anyways, but we only have one type of model to look at for now. Some of them seem to be quite regal. These important chaps are sporting some awesome crystal gear. I wonder how integral the Sethrak will be throughout the story in Battle for Azeroth, or if they'll only be seen as an introductory race during the initial quest lines. These are probably my favourite serpentine race added to the game so far, so I hope they're not just limited to their one corner of the game and we actually see them again after hitting max level. I don't think the Sethrak will end up as playable races. It seems like we're here to kill them rather than make friends with them. Sorry snake people, we chose the foxes this time. Another new race, which we'll hopefully see quite a bit of, is the Tortollan. If you've been playing Hearthstone semi-recently, you'll probably have seen these fellows on your playing cards, but they're a new race to the World of Warcraft and a welcome one at that. Interestingly, the Hearthstone background story would have you believe that you could find Tortollans down in Ungoro Crater. I guess they've just been hiding extremely well. You won't have to look too far to see some of them on Zandalar though. It seems like most of the new races are placed on the Horde starting continent. I wonder what the Alliance will be doing on Kultiran. At least they'll be able to hop on over to Zandalar once they hit max level. It seems like they will be an important race for one reason or another, because you can gain reputation with the Tortollan Seekers. There are quite a few Tortollan pets, one of which is tied to the Collector's Edition of Battle for Azeroth. They all look pretty cool in their own gear with all sorts of bits and bobs tied up to their shell. It's like a built-in backpack, except they don't have any internal space. I doubt we'd ever see Tortollan as an allied race, but I would love to be wrong. The last race we're going to look at is more of a new tribe, but it still counts, okay? The Blood Trolls will be causing all sorts of trouble in the swamps of Nazmir on Zandalar. There we go again with the Horde areas. These trolls are the main problem facing Zandalar and actually the target of our first raid, from what I understand. The Blood Trolls worship the blood god G'huun, who was created when the Titans were experimenting in an effort to fix the problems posed by the old gods. Obviously, that didn't work out too well. The old gods are still around, and we now have another creature to destroy. G'huun was locked away in Aldea, a Titan facility which is protected by 3 seals. Aldea is our first raid, that was confirmed at BlizzCon, and apparently only one of those 3 seals remains intact by the time we get to Zandalar. So the Blood Trolls are pretty important to the story. They also look fantastic and terrifying. I think they really nailed the cannibalistic blood ritual vibe that these trolls are meant to give off. They look like they're going to try and eat you before they kill you. There's also quite a variety of models for the Blood Trolls. We've got these typical female trolls, but also these dire female trolls, which could be some of their leaders or just the female version of the brute trolls we've seen from other tribes. Either way, I'm excited to see what kinds of environments we find these trolls in. I can just imagine everything looking gory and savage. If the quality of these models is anything to go by, it looks like we're in for one heck of an expansion. I hope the environments in general all lend themselves well to the races that have been created, but that's all the new races we've got to look through so far. Do you hope some of these races will become allied races? Which race are you most looking forward to seeing in-game? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.